Today we're going to take a look at an interesting kit from Sunfounder for your Raspberry Pi. This kit adds a 7-inch touchscreen, no drivers need to be installed, a mount for attaching an SSD, a Pi camera, and a Pi power module which allows the Pi to operate standalone. I'm John, and welcome to Wagner's Tech Talk. The device we're going to take a look at today is the TS7 Pro by Sunfounder, who did ship this unit to me for review. The entire kit costs less than $90. You will need a Raspberry Pi, and there are a number of supported models with this kit. To discuss the specs, I have a new hire at the studio that's going to help keep me on track. SpecBot, do the honors please.
7 inches 1024 by 600 display, 5-point capacitive touchscreen, 170 degrees viewing angle, power is 5 volt 500 milliamp hour, dimensions are 165 by 116 by 40 millimeters, stereo speakers.
Very efficiently said. Maybe I should step back and let you take over, SpecBot. Now let's open the box and see what all is included in the kit. First off, you have your instructions, and it's quite rare when I say they are well done. In this case, the instructions are very clear and well documented. Given the number of options available, such as adding a camera, SSD, and battery pack, each option is clearly described. The 7-inch touchscreen is reasonably sized. The back of the panel has buttons for adjusting the display settings, which we'll take a closer look at. You also have access to the GPIO pins, and there are stereo speakers, which are pre-installed. We'll take a closer look at the display panel during the setup. There are 2 micro USB to USB Type-A cables, a nice Phillips head screwdriver which spins at the base, a hardware kit which includes all of your screws and mounts. It also includes an HDMI bridge for the Raspberry Pi 3 and the USB bridge for the Pi 3 also. The 2 micro USB cables are used for the power and the touchscreen when connected to a PC. It also includes an HDMI cable, a micro HDMI cable for connecting a second external monitor to the Pi, and the HDMI bridge for the Raspberry Pi 4, and the USB bridge also for the Raspberry Pi 4. There is also a camera mount if you want to attach the Raspberry Pi camera to the case. There are also screw holes on the back for adding an SSD or the Pi power module. I wasn't familiar with the Pi power, so this is what it looks like. I did order one, so if it delivers in time, we'll take a look at it later in this video. Now, on to the assembly. Now we'll go ahead and put this kit together. There are a number of ways you can use it. I will be installing an SSD and a SATA adapter, but you certainly can use a micro SD instead, or both if you prefer. While we have a good clear view of the buttons, you can press the menu button to enter the settings, plus and minus to navigate the options, menu to select, and back to return to the previous option. I'll demonstrate this more in a bit, but wanted to make sure that you are aware these buttons are available. Looking at the other side, you have a micro USB connection for power, another for the touchscreen, and an HDMI port in case you want to connect this display to a PC. As mentioned earlier, you will need a Raspberry Pi. For this build, I'll be using a Raspberry Pi 4 Model B. Depending on how you plan to use the case, you may also need a micro SD card, although for the initial demonstration, I'll be using an SSD instead. Go ahead and take the Raspberry Pi and line up the holes into the GPIO port. From this angle, it may appear I missed a few pins, but those are not the GPIO pins, but rather 4 nearby pins on the Pi 4. Now we'll go ahead and plug in the HDMI bridge. Make sure you fully seat this connector. I didn't, and it took me a minute to figure out why I wasn't seeing anything on the display. Now we'll do the same for the USB bridge. This adapter is used for the touchscreen, and does take up one of your USB 2.0 ports on the Pi. If you find the display doesn't respond, double check that this adapter is fully seated into the Pi's USB port. For this next step, we'll attach the 4 M3 screws and standoffs. I noticed if I insert the screw from the front and simply twist the standoffs, I was able to tighten it down good without needing to use the screwdriver, but only in this step. Now go ahead and install all 4 screws and standoffs as shown here. Now we'll take the back panel and go ahead and remove the protective backing. Once removed, you'll notice areas for mounting the Pi camera, a 2.5-inch drive, and the Pi Power module, which is sold separately and needed only if you want to make your case a bit more portable. We'll use the M3x8 screw and go ahead and install the metal stick. This is basically a kickstand to keep your Pi propped up at a good viewing angle. Installing an SSD drive is of course optional, but I'll use this 500 gigabyte Western Digital drive to demonstrate how it can be easily added to the case. It simply mounts to the back of the case using the 4 provided screw hole mounts and screws. Simply put in the screws into each of the holes, and I'll go ahead and tighten them down. In terms of the assembly, we're definitely in the home stretch. At this point, all we need to do is install the 4 M3x6 screws to the standoffs, and we're essentially done with the case assembly. Of course, we could add the Pi Power and the camera as well before attaching the back protective cover. I'll rotate the case around so you can get a better idea of what it looks like fully assembled. You have access to all your ports and connectors. I think this is a pretty cool looking case. I like the design. One thing I'd like to see available from Sunfounder is a lower profile connector for the SATA to USB 3.0 connection. However, let's move on to the first boot. You're going to need a USB keyboard such as this official Raspberry Pi keyboard and mouse combo. Just plug the keyboard into the available USB 2.0 port. Notice I don't have a micro SD card installed. That's because I'm going to install PiOS to the SSD that we installed earlier into the case. A mouse will make the initial setup a bit easier, so I'll go ahead and plug it into one of the ports available on the keyboard itself. I will leave the USB 3.0 end of the SATA adapter disconnected for now and plug the power into the Raspberry Pi 4. What I'll show you next is pretty cool. Here I'm going to download and install Raspberry Pi OS entirely from the Pi itself using the network bootloader. It downloads the Pi imager from a wired Ethernet connection and allows us to select the operating system we want to install. It downloads and writes it to our SSD or micro SD, in this case an SSD. For more details on this cool feature, please see the link up above. After selecting the OS and the SSD drive, click the write button to write the image to the SSD. Once the installation completes, the Pi will reboot and we'll have a fresh copy of PiOS installed and ready for setup. At this point, you're likely wondering, hey John, can you show how to use the touchscreen with an on-screen keyboard? Well, we'll use PiOS for the installation example, and of course this will work with other distributions such as TwisterOS. No on-screen keyboard is provided by default, so I'll switch to an external monitor and we'll enter the commands to enable it. I'll also place a link in the description below in case you're wanting to do the same. After installing and configuring it, we'll also try it out with a few applications. While the page shown mentions RasPad, another impressive Sunfounder product, it works well with any touchscreen device. Simply copy and paste each command into a terminal window to install the onboard application. On that same guide, you'll find some additional helpful information regarding configuring the onboard application, which will provide an on-screen keyboard. I'll quickly show you a few settings that I like to adjust within the onboard settings configuration to help you with the customization. Under the General tab, check the Auto Show when editing checkbox to have the on-screen keyboard pop up when the cursor is in a text area. You will want to log out and back in for this option to work properly or simply reboot. Within the Windows section, I prefer to have the keyboard docked to the screen edge. And under Layout, I prefer Compact, which is the default. You can also adjust the keyboard theme if you prefer, although in this case I'll leave it set for Classic Onboard. And the last option we'll take a look at is under Typing Assistance. I like to enable the Show Suggestions, which can help speed up typing on the touchscreen. You will first need to start the onboard application, and for this demonstration I'll launch LibreOffice Writer, which is similar to Microsoft Word, and show what the on-screen keyboard looks like. As you can see, you can just type directly onto the screen and it shows up in the document. I'm going to go ahead and highlight the text here and change the font size a little bigger. There we go. Pretty cool. You can also tap and hold the move icon on the keyboard if you want to reposition it on the screen. If you're curious if you can use the touchscreen to draw, well, you can. I'll go ahead and launch Inkscape and show you what it looks like.
Well, isn't that extra special?
And of course, you can use the touchscreen to easily navigate your favorite website. It seems very responsive and a nice way of navigating the UI on your Raspberry Pi. Pressing the menu button at the back will reveal onboard controls for adjusting the display. For instance, you can adjust the brightness, contrast, and sharpness under the picture option. Within display, there are options for horizontal and vertical position, and a rotation option which doesn't appear to do anything. Under color, you can tweak the presentation to your preferences. Within input, you only have one HDMI port. In audio, you can adjust the volume levels or mute the audio, and there are a few other settings such as information and factory reset. Now let's take a look at some bonus information that I alluded to earlier in the video. I mentioned there was a Pi Power option which I was completely unfamiliar with, so I went ahead and ordered one off of Amazon. I'll place a link down below in case you're interested as well. It was about $20 more, but provides the ability to make this case portable. It can completely power your Raspberry Pi, the touchscreen, and the SSD. The add-on kit also includes a USB Type-A to USB Type-C, as well as a micro USB to Type-A cable to power the Pi 4 and the Pi 3. To install the Pi Power, I will need to partially disassemble the case to add the 4 standoffs to position the Pi Power slightly higher. I'll quickly speed through this as it's something you've already seen. I have one other bonus to mention. I also picked up a cable for the Pi camera, which will also install to the case. After removing the Pi from the case, I'll raise the black tabs on the connector and slide the cable in such that the pins make contact with the connector. Once done, I'll then lock it down. Then install the 4 screws and short standoffs to the back cover of the case. Then position the Pi Power assembly in the orientation such that the connectors are on the outside, and go ahead and tighten down all 4 screws. There is a power switch for powering on and off the Pi when using the Pi Power. The Pi Power does use 2 18650 batteries, so if you decide to use this option, you will need to pick up a couple of these to power the Pi, SSD, and display. You can't use AA's, and these batteries aren't that common in most households. Routing the cable for the Pi camera was a little tricky. I moved it to the side and up through the notch in the back of the case. And what good is a Pi camera cable without a Pi camera, so I picked up one of those also to show you. I gently pulled out the locking mechanism on the camera and slid in the cable, and then locked it down. Then I took the acrylic camera mount and removed all the protective covering. I used the black rivets for the base, and you will need to apply quite a bit of pressure to get them seated properly. Then used the white rivets for mounting the camera to the stand, and these went in quite a bit easier. At this point, it was simply a matter of putting in the 4 screws, plugging in the power, the USB Type-A to USB Type-C into the Pi. Of course, I had to test the camera. Do you notice anything odd, with the exception of my face being in the video? That's right, any USB connection will totally block the camera view. Now, what about running everything off the Pi Power, you might ask? Well, I'll go ahead and unplug the power and the keyboard, and now the Pi is completely standalone, and the Pi Power is keeping the Pi, the SSD, and the display running fine. Be sure the power switch on the Pi Power is in the on position, and the USB cable is plugged in between the Pi Power and the Raspberry Pi. If you're wondering, yes, connecting the display to a PC works just fine. You can browse applications, browse the internet, just as we did on the Pi 4. You will need to disconnect the HDMI and USB bridge and connect the 2 micro USB cables and the HDMI cable, but it worked well in my testing. I also installed Recalbox and played a few games. The touchscreen isn't used here, but it makes a nice portable retro gaming rig. Just plug in your controller or pair a wireless controller and you're good to go. We've reached the end of another video, and I'll start off with what I like about this kit. It's highly configurable with options for adding an SSD, Pi power, camera, and retains access to the GPIO pins. The display looks nice for a 7-inch display. The touchscreen is responsive. Overall, it's a great Pi project kit that can be used for a number of applications. It's really up to your imagination. In terms of what can be improved, there are a few things I encountered. The location of the Pi camera doesn't really make sense to me. Any USB connection will block the view of the camera, and it's for that reason I wouldn't recommend the Pi camera with this kit. A lower profile SATA adapter would be a nice option for this case for using it with an SSD, and there is a display rotation option in the display settings, however it doesn't appear to do anything, and it'd be nice if it did. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please let me know by clicking the like button, or if I can answer any questions, please comment below. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I hope you'll consider doing it. And with that, I will talk to you again very soon.